Criminal Minds' evolution is totally living up to the hype, even though we haven't seen Reid return so far. But that doesn't mean everything has been smooth sailing for the sequel. In this video, we'll talk about the 4th episode of the show, and how it does a pretty bad job of setting up something we all might be really happy to see. Also, we'll get into how this series is breaking from the original and paving its own way, so stick around. First up, the 4th episode of Criminal Minds, and that setup. So we all know that Reid is rudely absent from this show so far. We've been feeling that because, come on, he's totally essential to the crew. Now it just so happens that something did occur in the 4th episode that could be a total plot point to see him re-enter the show. In the episode Pay-Per-View, we got a last-minute reveal that was pretty shocking. JJ's husband found out that he had cancer after a routine checkup. Even though the rest is speculation, hear us out. This incident could go on to have an effect on JJ's story going forward. Apart from how it will impact the family, this could also be a valid point for Reid's entry back into the show. If Will doesn't survive his cancer diagnosis, the former storyline from the original CBS show that revolved around Spencer and JJ's romance could come into play again. The two were co-workers and really good friends above everything else. And if Dr. Reid finds out about all this happening with JJ, it's pretty hard to imagine he wouldn't reach out. There's bound to be some communication, even if only a guest appearance. The story would totally merit him coming back for someone he cares so deeply about. Next up, if Reid's returning, why is the setup so unpopular? The reason for this goes way back to CBS's version of the show. The problem lies in the fact that the fans never really took to Reid and JJ's potential romance. So now that this groundwork is being laid down, many aren't here for it, since they already didn't like it earlier. Even at the time, the plot had the viewers pretty divided. Not that there was anything wrong with it. It was more about the way it was done. It seemed to come out of totally nowhere, which made it seem like something that was meant to create shock. Besides, JJ considering she had feelings for Reid, while being married to a very devoted Will, just didn't look too good. However, the whole idea was ultimately dropped. Keeping all this in mind, bringing Reid back to have this story come to life again might not be the best idea, which is why some people think that it's a lousy setup for the return of such a beloved character. Furthermore, the door to Reid returning isn't exactly closed yet. When Paramount's version began airing, the show was pretty quick to address why Dr. Spencer and SSA Matt Simmons were absent. Director Bailey actually directly talked about it and said that he wasn't at liberty to say where the two were, but they could be returning to the FBI if they decided to. This appears to be a seriously open-ended statement. Plus, it's kind of meta, because is he talking about the fact that the characters can return, or the actors who play them can return? Also, Dr. Reid still technically remains a part of the team. If Gubler could manage it, the spot's totally available for him. Maybe this way, the show's leaving the door open to his return in Season 2. Anyway, our key takeaway from Bailey's statement is that them not being present isn't anything final. It could change. Well, we'll be hoping for that. Moving on, could Reid's absence actually be a part of the plot? When Deputy Director Bailey said that he wasn't at liberty to say what Reid was doing, he did indicate that he was out working on another case. Duh, that's what he does. However, the details were kept super airtight. No information about the case or when it'll end was given. But it's also known that Bailey is using the team to get what he wants right now. So, can his statement be completely trusted by us? Could it be that Bailey's behind the profiler's absence? If we think about it, his ultimate objective is to have the behavioral analysis unit broken up. And if that's what he's aiming for, why would he have the profiler on the team right now? Reid could thwart all his attempts. The dude's got brain power. Maybe separating Dr. Spencer from the unit is his way of undermining Prentice, as well as the profilers. It's a theory. But what if Reid's moving the plot by not being in it? Coming up next, has Matthew Gray Gubler talked about coming back? Sadly, no, he hasn't. At first, it was kinda assumed that he chose not to return to the show, but that's not it. The character of Dr. Spencer Reid was actually the actor's first gig, and he gave the project a good 15 years or so. He was there throughout all the seasons. Obviously, the commitment he made to his character did end up affecting his options of pursuing other acting opportunities. According to Erica Messer, who's the showrunner of Criminal Minds Evolution, Gubler had scheduling conflicts. Henney didn't come back for the same reason. The period that was put aside for the filming didn't work out for the two of them, and so the show had to move forward without them. As they say, the show must go on. Unfortunately, that's true even if Gubler's busy. Anyway, we've got one of our favorite shows back, and it's stronger than ever, even though it's quite different from the one we knew before. Let's look at how Paramount's Criminal Minds Evolution is distinguishing itself from the CBS version. What's more, the word evolution in the title is totally justified. Just watching the episodes as they're released, the energy of the shows totally shifted. The story's being adapted in a very different fashion, even though the environment is one that we're all used to. Some part of it must be that we're seeing the characters post-finale. So right now, we're seeing beyond the end, in a way. But it isn't stagnant at all. The story's teasing for the good stuff to come along. The show evolved to take on the extra plot, and the whole thing is very different from the original version. Now for Paramount's version, making its own way with the team no longer together. In the previous version, we followed a team of agents who caught serial killers and solved crimes. Throughout its run, we saw a whole lot of characters come and go. Now in this version, only 6 familiar faces are back. These are Jennifer J.J. Giroux, David Rossi, Emily Prentice, Dr. Tara Lewis, Penelope Garcia, and Luke Alves. Even this is a huge feat, because we've already had 15 good seasons. The team isn't really together after being scattered far and wide due to bureaucratic interference. However, they've got a network of criminals to intercept, so they must come together again. Next up, Criminal Minds Evolution is all about the deep dive. In the last version of Criminal Minds, we really never got a closer glimpse into the lives of our favorite agents. Also, the background of the unknown subjects, or the unsubs, couldn't be explored with greater depth. Because it was episodic, it meant that each week ushered in a new villain. And even though we got to see an awesome investigation, there especially wasn't any room to see how the agents were being affected by these horrid crimes and criminals. In this adaptation, however, such questions are really being brought to the forefront. We're getting a deeper dive and a much more personal look into the lives of the agents. This time around, the criminal mastermind, played by Zach Gilford, is being given screen time. We get to see his brilliant performance while trying to understand the motives and purposes behind his actions. At the start of the show, David Rossi's wife has passed away, and that's led to his work life totally coming undone. The married pair, JJ and Will, are having trouble reconnecting due to their busy schedules. So right from the start, the personal aspects are very clear. The team's being shown as individuals, which is why important topics such as mental health and grief are present as themes. Furthermore, this version alters the format. Even though many of the great things from the original remain as they were, the format's now totally different. In this version, the episodes are fewer in number, but each one is longer in runtime. This is how the show's been made very streaming friendly, as we're all used to this way with so many streaming platforms around. Plus, only one mastermind is being shown, who's controlling multiple unsubs. The story's got a more tied-together feel, as a new scenario isn't presented repeatedly. Rather, the whole plot is pretty consistent, unlike the former version. Other than this, since network constraints aren't running the show, the characters can curse now. Furthermore, the version considers minor things that can have a huge effect, like when bureaucracy dictates the way things will be done. When the budget was initially limited, the team had to be split. In the second episode, they figured out that the kill kits, or the mysterious cases, were spread across the nation and were all connected to a single unsub at the center of it all. This adds pressure to the team, as they've got to figure things out soon, because the web of crime is way too vast. They've got to get a move on to prove that their team isn't obsolete. This format allows the show to be more grounded, since the stakes are high, and we don't know how it's all going to end. It's not like the old days. Finishing up with the fact that this version does more with the same elements as the previous version. The way that the story's unfolding is what sets this version apart. Even though we're still aching for the killer to be caught, we're getting to see his horrifying evolution too. The storytelling overall is stronger, with most of the other aspects remaining the same. So along with a compelling mystery, we're getting an awesome tale too. That's all for today from our side. Do you think JJ and Reid should get together this time around? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next one.